Good morning, my dear students. This is Dr. R.V. Nagarajan from School of Architecture, Hindustan University. Today, we are going to talk about one very important topic. Every architect must possess a knowledge about it. How to draw perspective drawing. Why this perspective drawing is very important for an architect. I tell you one example. You finish your course after 5 years and you carry on your practicing and you enter into your office and one client comes to you and he explains his entire project and he is actually picturing that entire building. He wants this and all, and you are perceiving his entire bungalow. And after that, you are creating the concept of that building and you want to picture that building and to show to your client. How would you show that? That is for this perspective drawing is. On that instant, when you sketch it, how that bungalow is going to be, with respect to your concept, with respect to what that client actually desired, and you sketch it out completely in any angle, and you show it to him, that is the way you can actually grab that particular client and attract him and get that client particularly stick to you and can carry on the project furthermore. And you are all architecture students. How to draw this perspective drawing? Yeah, so that's what we're going to see it now. In this first slide, actually, you are seeing this picture. In this picture, why this building is actually converging? Why? And it is converging to one particular point. Why? In the second picture, actually, I'm showing this building is actually from Rome. Again, this side of this building and this side of this building is converging to 2 points. Why that original building, which is in this photograph, actually converging to this point and this point? Why it seems so? Okay. So comes this perspective. What is perspective? Perspective is a geometric method of representing on the paper the way that object appears in the real life. So it could be bigger, it could be smaller. You are seeing one building, and that building actually would be having the 4 walls of all the sides equal. But when you stand in front of the building and you see that, one corner will be completely in one height, and the same wall will be seeming like converging to something else in your photograph. Why does it happen? So this is all because of this perspective. And how to draw this perspective? In this next slide, actually, I'm showing about there are types of projections. The first projection is actually the parallel projection, and the second projection is actually the perspective projection. And in parallel projection, we can see the lines actually going in parallel direction, and in perspective projection, we can see that the entire object goes like converging to one point. It is not parallel, it is converging, and that's what actually I'm showing in the next slide. Parallel projection is further divided into 3 divisions: isometric, diametric, trimetric, and all these will be in parallel projection. And non-parallel projection is this perspective one. It converges to something else. It converges to 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, n number of points or whatever. So, but we are not going to see that n number of perspectives. We are going to see 1 or 2. How to draw 1 point perspective? What is the use of 1 point perspective? What is the use of 1 point perspective for an architect to show it to his client? What is the use of 2 point perspective? So we're going to show all the things. For a perspective to draw, there are certain things very, very important. And I want to explain about it. The first thing is the observer's eye. This one is very, very important. The very important thing, I would say it's a camera. And the second thing is object. What actually you are picturing. This camera is picturing me. So this is the object now. So as an architect, you would be picturing one object. Your eye is the camera. I would say that observer's eye. So you'll be picturing that building. So that building is the object. And the third thing is the plane of projection. What is this plane of projection? I said this is a camera, and other thing is that object. And the plane of projection is the film we have inside that camera. And the fourth one is the line of sight. This is my eye. You consider this the camera, and that is the object. And if the object is actually kind of a square or a cube, every corner of that object, every point of that object will come towards my eye, right? And it will get converged. Actually, my eye is here, and it will come to converge to my eye. And that particular convergence, that line is called the line of sight. So these four things are very important: the observer's eye, the object, the plane of projection, and the line of sight, without which the perspective will be very meager. I mean, the perspective will be a little superficial. So it is the responsibility of the architecture staff to make all the students in architecture, to make them completely understand about these four elements and to learn about it. The first thing, observer's eye, the camera. From this slide, you can see that man is actually standing and he is seeing that object, and the plane of picture is in the middle. Imagine this: you are standing in your room and you are seeing some scenario outside that window. You are having that window completely transparent one. Just imagine that. It is in glass. You are having a lengthy pencil, okay? And you are seeing some scenario outside, very long farther. Imagine some buildings are there, some cityscape or something. You are having the pencil. Imagine that you are drawing that particular scenario on this transparent glass. How do you draw that? So just try to interpret that one into this one. What you are is this one, observer's eye. And what this transparent material, that window plane, is the picture plane. And what you actually know, that scenario, whatever you see beyond that window, is the object. That is it. And what you are drawing using this pencil is the convergence, that line of sight. So you draw that entire building, that scenario will be converging to the picture plane, and it gets converged to your eye. So in that intermittent, you'll be getting that film, which actually we call it as picture of plane. So we converge it and we draw that. And how to draw that is what is very important. In this picture, actually you can understand that the entire concept of the perspective. And here, in this one, when you stand in front of railway track, why does that railway track seem like converges at one particular point? It's all because of the perspective. When you stand inside the train and you see something outside, why does that entire train, which is actually moving, seems like converges at one particular point? It is all because of the perspective. There are three types of perspectives. 1-point perspective, we call parallel perspective. 2-point perspective, we call angular perspective. And 3-point perspective, it doesn't have any name and all, but it is actually very precisely for the height of a building. For example, twin towers or the high-rise buildings can be drawn in 3-point perspective. And let me explain one by one. What is 1-point perspective? You are staying inside a hall, and you want to draw some sketch about that particular hall, a linear hall. And when you sketch it about it, that will be coming in 1-point perspective. So how to draw that 1-point perspective is a very important thing. And the second one, 2-point perspective. You go out of that hall or you stand outside any building and you draw that exterior view about that building, and that is called the 2-point perspective. But now you can raise a doubt. Sir, is it very important that I have to draw that 1-point perspective only within that building? No, not essentially. And is it very important that I have to draw the 2-point perspective only outside the building? No. Even inside a building, you can draw 2-point perspective. And even outside the building, you can draw 1-point perspective. So it all depends. And how to draw the 3-point perspective? It all actually, very important to draw about the height of the building. So these are the types of perspectives. We'll see one by one in all the classes. So in this picture, actually, we saw the wall of these two buildings actually get converges to 1-point perspective. So that's what is actually shown with this line of vision. And even this chair gets converged to 1 point. This is 1-point perspective. And how to draw this 1-point perspective, we'll see in the next class. But let me start with how to draw the 2-point perspective now. Because in all these years of teaching that perspective drawing, I felt like the students try to understand a little tougher to start with 1-point perspective. And so I understood that starting with 2-point perspective will be much wiser. And so let me start with teaching you the 2-point perspective first. You can see it now, the perspective of wooden floor. and in the next one, the perspective of a rug, and in the next one, perspective of a door, how to draw the perspective of a door, and in the next one, perspective of a window, how to draw the perspective of a window. Now, we'll see a small example. We'll take this object. You can see the top view, side views, this side view, rear view, plan, front elevation, and even the isometric view. How to draw the two-point perspective of that one. As I was explaining, the very important thing is that the object is standing in front of you. You are the camera because you are having that eye, observer's eye. You are the camera. Object is there. And we require that film, I was saying that, which is actually the picture plane. And that object will be captured in that film, and you are the observer, you are the camera. So I have given that object, and the picture plane is there in front of that, and the stationary point, you yourself, is standing in front of it. And the object will be tilted in any angle, 30, 60, 30 degree, 60 degree, or 45 degree, 45 degree, in any way. So the object is tilted, and the picture plane is there in front, and you, the stationary point, is in front of it. The first step is the dimension. How far the stationary point is standing in front of the picture plane, the film. And in the second step, you have to draw your eye level. Whether you are standing, I mean, you're yourself the camera, whether you are standing, or you are in the floor and you are visualizing that object, or you are flying, which means that when you are standing, you are in human eye level. Suppose you are in the ground, actually we are categorizing some three types. If you are in the ground, you are seeing that object in earthworm's view, earthworm, okay? Suppose you are seeing from the top, it is like a bird's eye view, a bird seeing that object. So we are categorizing it. It all depends on the eye level. You are standing in front of the object, okay? This is the camera, and this eye level is very important, whether this is the height of the camera, or this is the height of the camera, or this is the height of the camera. When it goes above, the object will be seen like this, okay? So that line is very important. You are making that horizon line, which is the eye level. The next thing very important is to fix that vanishing point. Vanishing point, I have to take one more lecture to explain about vanishing point. But roughly, you can understand that vanishing point, it all is a play with this camera, your eyes. Something will be vanishing. You are standing in front of me, and your size is actually this in front of me. If you go back, and very farther back, you will go like a dot. You are vanishing. It's all the play of the eyes. And so we have to fix the vanishing point. Here in this picture, for that object, we are taking two parallel lines, this side, and we are fixing A and B in the picture plane, and those 2 points are the vanishing points. And the next step, you have to drag that vanishing point down to the horizon level, horizon line, or your eye level. And that will be left vanishing point, LVP, and this side will be right vanishing point, RVP. Dragging that A and B down to your horizon line. That is a very important step. And after you do this, you plot that vanishing point, left vanishing point and right vanishing point on horizon line. And after that, you get that height from the elevation, drag it to the point in which actually that object is touching the picture plane, drag it down, get that height from the elevation, and try to converge that one to left vanishing point and right vanishing point, and you got two sides of that object. And this is actually the very starting point. And after this, try to get all the points of that particular object converge to stationary point. It is not shown in this slide. You can see this. So get that point A, get that point B, and whatsoever the points you are seeing in that object, drag it down, converge it down to stationary point. And wherever it meets that picture plane, drag it down and make it meet this convergence line towards this left vanishing point and right vanishing point, and slowly you will get that object one by one down. And this object is actually having some contour level difference and all, having like a step and some recession in the front and all. So accordingly, you just drag it down and finish that entire object. I'm just summarizing this entire lecture of today. The first thing we talked is every architect must possess the knowledge of perspective drawing. And I was also explaining why. It is very, very important. Nowadays, it has become so technologically developed world. You can draw this one even in AutoCAD or in any other software. As I was explaining, when the client approaches and in just 5 minutes conversation with your client, and he explains how his building should be and how you actually conceptualize it, it is actually very important, imperative thing for an architect to possess the knowledge about perspective, to just sketch in 5 minutes and to show to your client. That is the very important point, the very essential thing for this one, perspective, to get learned. And the different types of perspectives, and how to draw one-point perspective, and a detailed drawing of two-point perspective. So these are all the things we just saw in this session. And in the forthcoming sessions, we may be seeing about how to draw the crucial objects in two-point perspective. And in the forthcoming classes, we can see how to draw the two-point perspective of a building, how to draw a two-point perspective of a Taj Mahal, how to draw a two-point perspective of Pantheon, Rome, or any other world wonders in perspective, how to draw two-point perspective or one-point perspective, or for that matter, three-point perspective of yourself, your human body, how to draw that. We'll all see in this one in the next session. And if you have any further clarifications or doubts, please contact me in my mail ID. Thank you very much. This is Dr. Nagarajan from School of Architecture, Hindustan University.